Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast. Now, we are all surrounded by the world of influencer marketing right now, and let's be honest, there are many good and equally many not so good examples of it out there. So I wanted to explore what are some of the major flaws in influencer marketing today, and what solutions can brands and influencers need in order to improve those collaboration efforts. Plus, how using artificial intelligence, big data, and other emerging technologies can fix some of these existing flaws, and how achieving better marketing results can be achieved with the use of technological solutions. So with all that in mind, I invited Liav Chen onto the podcast from a company called Humanz. And the founders discovered that influencer marketing was broken, but rather than sit around complaining about it like you or I might do, they went out to fix it and create a solution to the problem. And Humanz was first launched commercially, I believe, back in 2019 in Israel. Essentially, Humanz is an AI-powered influencer marketing platform engineered to bring back the trust between marketers, content creators, and their audiences, and aimed at combating influencer fatigue while also measuring the true ROI and creating safe and seamless end-to-end experiences for all parties involved. And after reading how marketers, influencers, agencies, and talent managers have all described Humanz as the most complete and user-focused platform that's currently available, I also wanted to find out a little bit more, especially considering that with strong partnerships with leading brand portfolio companies and agencies, including the likes of Unilever, Kimberly-Clark, Nestle, Universal McCann, PhD Network, Group M, there's a long, long list there. But you don't want to hear me reading all those out, so enough from me. Buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to Tel Aviv, where Liav Chen is waiting to speak with us now. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Sure. First of all, thanks for having me here. It's a great pleasure and honor. I'm Liav. I'm 28 years old from Tel Aviv. I love music, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Humanz. Humanz is an AI-based influencer marketing platform that we've developed, and we're here to talk about it as part of the things. I'll be happy to share more information and insights.
Fantastic. And before you came on the podcast today, I did do a little bit of research to find out a little bit more about you. And I quickly learned that you served in the Israeli intelligence unit and probably have the biggest collection of the Beatles vinyl than anyone else in Tel Aviv. So I've got to ask, can you share your origin story, where your love for technology came from and the Beatles, and how you ended up on the path you're on today?
Yeah, actually, that's true. I have a very nice collection of vinyls by the Beatles. I'm a huge fan. I love their music, their lyrics, the rhythms, and it's all part of the story, as you mentioned, the origin. I'll be happy to share. So basically, if I'm going back to where I grew, it's Eilat, which is the southest city in Israel. Not very common one, but most for the tourist city. I grew up there. Most of my junior lifetime, when I was a kid, I loved to listen to music, especially the Beatles, and playing the guitar. That was basically my biggest hobby. And somewhere around the 6th, 7th grade, I started to develop this love for technology and computers. And back then, it was pretty. It was not very common to code or to have this knowledge like the youngsters today, like the kids today. But my mom always pushed me to learn how to code and how to leverage my love for technology. So since the 7th grade, I was developing softwares, basically highlight high levels software languages such as .NET, C#. So I studied by myself, and then I took some classes after school And it was a love story for me because it was very relaxing. It was another hobby that I had, and that's what I did. Also, most of my junior high school as profession. And back then, combining both of these hobbies, I was pinpointed to the army, to the intelligence unit called 8200, which is the parallel unit for the American NSA. So basically, I leveraged my skills there, and that was a big school for me. Basically, that's where you learn, the difference between computers as hobby and coding as hobby, and leveraging your skills into taking it to the next level and create real value and obviously save lives. That's what we did there. So that was the final, approval that I wanted for myself, to understand that that's the direction I want to take as an adult. And from the unit, it was, officer school. I learned to be a nice manager, commander. Basically commander in the army, but when you think about it, so it's like a big enterprise, big startup company, this unit, because most of the unit are doing software development and dealing with technology. So I came back as a commander, and there I was, a software developer team leader. And that was very interesting and fun for me. So it got me to think with my friends from the army, how can we leverage that in our next, after we release from the army. And that's how we came up with the idea of Humanz. And that's where we are today. And that's basically how everything is connected to the origin story.
Absolutely love that. And I think it's so important to share the very human story behind any tech company. And of course, as you said, that path there led to Humanz, which is spelled Humanz. But can you tell listeners a little bit more about the problems that you set out to solve with Humanz?
Sure, yeah. So let's dive a little bit into the Humanz challenges. And as I mentioned, the idea came up when we were still in the army. And, we had this friend. Imagine 5 software developers, right, without any knowledge in marketing, nothing in the origin story for no one from the founders was from marketing area. And then we had this friend that had a master's degrees in mathematics, was very talented software developer. And he told us that on the weekends, on his free time, he's doing parties for the university in Tel Aviv, for the university, students. And it was part of his side income while still serving in the army. And we asked him questions like, how do you organize the parties? How can you make sure people will appear there? What's your business model? And then he told us that his only marketing channel is paying social media influencers, people that mainly female, that has a lot of followers, to advertise his parties. And that's how people are coming to the parties by the weekend. And that's basically, we were still in the army. We were having lunch. It was just another afternoon. And I asked him, but how much do you pay them? And how do you know it's actually like that they generate the traffic to your parties? And he says, look, I don't know, but that's how, these things are rolling. And it was very interesting because he's a very smart man. So we went back and we dive into that landscape, and we saw that there is a landscape called influencer marketing. And it's a big problem around the world of how can you measure results with influencers on social media, and how can you understand which one is the best influencer for your brand and your needs, and how do you know how much to pay them? So all these questions were problem not for this friend of ours, but for the big brands in the entire world. So it was very another love story that I had in my life. And then I started to investigate this subject, and I understood that influencers basically are not something new. If we look back into the history of influencers, so viva voce, which is the word of mouth in Latin America, in the ancient language of marketing, if you want to say. So that's the basic value of marketing, and that value is about trust. When you need to trust the other person or the other someone that is influencing you. And then as marketing evolved during the years, we can see more and more examples of influencers. For example, if you remember, I don't know if you remember, but you can look into it. In the 1930s, there was a nice campaign that I like to use for my examples, which was Lucky Strike, the cigarettes that used actors to advertise their cigarettes. So that's was another step of influencers, because now they're on billboards and they advertise a brand, which in this case was a cigarette. But a bigger usage of influencer back then was that they used doctors. So Lucky Strike as a cigarette used actual doctors to recommend you to smoke because it will be good for your health. Obviously, we now know which it's not very true, but back then that was the usage of influencers as experts. And then marketing evolved and time evolved and things change. And in the 2010 we had the revolution of social media, right? It started around just before 2010, but the big revolution and the new consumer, which is now always and spends most of his time in social media platforms. And obviously we all know the buzzword mobile first. So when now you have this consumer kind of new consumer kind of user that spends most of his time on social media platforms, and you have these influencers that now has a direct access to their followers, so they can just send a message, they can just speak about something they want, then you have the true power of influencers. And with big power comes big responsibility, right? So what we saw back, if I'm going to the problems, we saw that all the brands noticed this change and this evolution of influencers and try to replicate it themselves and say, okay, bring me all the celebrities, let me pour some money, let me pay them a lot of money and create great content with celebrities. But actually what they created was something we called influencers fatigue. So they created this lack of trust, because today you can look on a celebrity that's going to advertise PepsiCo, but tomorrow is going to advertise Coca-Cola. And once you have this repeatedly happen on social media, you lose the trust within the influencers. And that's how we have the influencers fatigue. And humans, all the technology and data and everything we develop behind scenes that I'll explain soon is the exact and the most relevant solution, obviously, as we see it in our clients, to that problem of bringing back the trust within the influencers and having them working properly and obviously data-driven.
And just to bring to life what you're talking about here, I read a great article that talks about this and really highlights the value that you guys offer. And the article began with, should Cristiano Ronaldo sell purses in India? And of course, that sounds like quite a random statement, but Humanz big data analysis says, yes, actually he should. So for anyone that missed that article, could you offer a bit of an overview?
So let's understand the article for a moment. It was very, very nice one. We basically scanned Cristiano Ronaldo's followers and profile on social media platforms. And the idea is that we said, guys, look, Cristiano Ronaldo, you all know him as a soccer player, right?
Yeah.
Very successful one. But did you know that if he will open a business tomorrow morning that sells purses in India, he will do great money? And the thing is that nobody expects that kind of piece of information, that kind of an insight. And the thing that makes it special is exactly it, that you don't expect it, but based on the data of his followers and his profile, we can understand that. And that takes me to the second point of what is our data and how we leverage it. And what makes us special in this landscape? That's the USP of Humanz, that we can understand for each user on each social media platform. It doesn't matter if it's Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, etc. We can understand based on your social media behavior and obviously images, emojis that you use, text that you use, videos that you upload, images as posts and profile image. We can understand your gender, your age range, where you're from, what you like to do, and whether you're a real user or a fake user. And with that piece of knowledge and that piece of technology, we can understand a lot and provide very good and smart insights for our advertisers. So basically, when you look on Cristiano Ronaldo's profile, you see a great influencer, a great soccer player, but you don't see that his followers are big portion of them from India with big buying intents and for purses. So that's something that our data can provide, and we do it in many other different scenarios.
And of course, we're all surrounded by influencer marketing now, and there are some good examples, and there are some very, very poor examples that just don't work out there. So as someone right in the heart of this industry, what are some of the biggest major flaws in influencer marketing that you see today, and what solutions and could brands and influencers are required in order to improve their collaboration as they move forward?
That's a very, very good and smart question. And just to be very efficient, I will select my flaws that I want to take and respond, because there are too many. Really, there are too many, and the Humanz platform is trying to bring value in each and every one. But the biggest hardships, as obviously we see it in our clients. First of all, let's understand what every brand and what is the market looks like today. So we have direct-to-consumer brands that sells mainly through e-commerce websites. And that's what's going on, especially after the COVID area, right? More and more brands shifted budget, created themselves a front or a store on the e-commerce landscape. And now they need to create traffic and content, right? Traffic is the way they're going to sell. And now with the digital transformation and with their approaches of having the data in one place, controlling their clients, selling online, they need to bring a smart and relevant traffic, and they have to create a very tempting and relevant content also to use in their websites, but also to generate the traffic with. So these are the 2 points where influencers should thrive. That's how it should really work, because influencer, when it's done properly, when you have a proper content creator that you find and vet, you get a great content and you get a great traffic from him. And that's how you create positive ROI as an advertiser, as a brand. And to do so, for example, these are the 2 main points. So traffic and content creator and authentic content. But the flaws are that currently, when you do influencer marketing as a brand, you usually call your agent or your advertising agency, and they will give you, the former people, the former influencers they worked with. Usually, it will be always around the same type of people, the people that you have a contract with, which are, obviously I'm not disrespecting that kind of advertisement, but with the new era of direct-to-consumer brands, with the COVID impacts, you have to be focused now as a brand in positive ROI ways and leveraging channels. So the thing that we solve and we believe in is to vet your influencers through technology, understanding their audience, their gender, their age, their relevancy for your brand. Obviously, make sure they're not fake users or bot users. And the other step is to vet the influencers themselves. So to see the engagement rate, whether it's relevant for your brand and your product. Are they good, for example, in sports and fitness products, and they create good engagement in these areas? Or they're more of a fashion, beauty influencers and lifestyle influencers? So all of these pieces should be addressed by the marketers using smart technology, and that's what we bring to the table.
And as this is a tech podcast, just for people listening that are wondering how technology can fix some of these existing flaws, what role are you seeing things like artificial intelligence and big data playing in resolving some of those problems we're talking about?
As a data and tech, background that I have and my team, we always believe and we always trust the data more than human beings. For example, we believe that data and AI are here to fix problems better than anybody else and any human being. And when you do it properly, obviously, the results are great. For example, when you want to vet an influencer, as I explained before, so you want to actually have the confidence in his followers, in his content. And in order to do it, neither you're going to hire 50 employees that are going to run on his followers with their eyes, looking on their profile image, on their profiles, and vetting them one by one, for example, 1 million followers. So it's very hard to do it manually. But once you have an algorithm that can see a user, and just like a human brain can understand, for example, machine learning on the emojis that the user uses. For example, if you use emoji of a gym, an emoji of a wave, then most likely you like to go to the gym and you do a lot of workouts, and you like to surf, for example. So this kind of understanding is part of what technology and AI provided us. Not mention, obviously, the text and the NLP type of algorithms that you can understand where a specific user is based, where is he work, what's his work title, what's his occupation, what he likes to do on his free time, and based on the slang that a specific user is using on Instagram or any other channel, what's the age range of this user, right? So all of these conclusions you can get when you have a nice pattern that you profile and you have the algorithms to run it. Not mention also image recognition. So when you look on a profile, your brain can understand if it's a male or a female. So a machine can do it also, can do it better than you, because it can do 100 million users in one day, once you have enough resources, obviously. So imagine that you can segment and profile users based on that technology that can understand user behavior just like a human brain. And by the end of the day, how you measure it? You measure the results. So because of the technology is very good, and because we know how to target the most relevant influencers, our clients enjoy good sales revenues from the influencers. They have a very nice relationship with the influencers because they provide good engagement and finally good actual sales in the e-commerce platforms.
And can I also ask that you tell me a little bit more about how achieving better marketing results can be improved, all with the use of these technological solutions, and especially with the work that you're doing with Humanz too?
Sure, yeah. So I started to say, but in essence, the marketing channels and the marketeers are always the market itself is going to a direction of omni-channel, right? We want to leverage our data as marketers, as brands. We want to own the data and to have everything in one place. And our goals are basically, can be engagement on social media platforms, can be clicks, it can be acquisitions, it can be conversion and revenues, whatever goals you define as a marketer for your brand. But in every kind of approach, you want to have control on your data, right? You want to have data for remarketing purposes. You want to have control for your content and your traffic, and then to leverage it for the right purposes. For example, when one of our biggest clients, I don't know, Kimberly-Clark or maybe Zara, will approach and say, we have a campaign now in a specific region, geographical location, that we want to drive brand awareness and create engagement on social media. Perfect. What is your brief? So we are looking for female fashion lovers from Tel Aviv by the age 20 to 30, and we want to have them speaking more about our brand, for example, Zara. And then our platform Humanz can basically take this brief and based on the AI, as I explained before, understand the followers and the audiences that are relevant, and from the audience, understand the influencers. So we do the bottom-up approach, and by your target audience, we will find the most relevant influencers, and by your budget, we will make the optimal team of influencers to run this campaign for you. And that will be guaranteed. That will guarantee the results that you ask for example, brand awareness. And that's how you tie it to the marketing. And let's take the other way, for example, another client can come and say to the platform and fill in a form that says, I want to have a campaign with influencers, but to drive sales and to drive conversions. Perfect. We'll do the same operation inside the platform, but we look for more call to action influencers with more audiences that have a specific intent to buy product like yours. And we will grant you with the most relevant influencers for that kind of move. And that's how we tied it, to a marketing actual results. And that's how, and by the end of the day, we have around 200 clients that we gathered since we launched the first version in 2018. And we have 2 clients that dropped during the way, and it was for lack of service, not for part of the tech. So we understand their needs and we understand our clients' willings, and we try to always connect it to the actual business results by the end of the day.
Fantastic. And for any business leaders listening, the lack of trust in the attention economy is notoriously costly. So I'm curious, is there a way to vet that authenticity and genuineness of an influencer, especially in a world of bot followers and people buying followers? What is the best way of getting around that?
Yeah, that's the biggest challenge when it comes to the hardship and the flaws. Fraud is the biggest issue. I don't know if you had a chance to see this movie on HBO, Fake Famous. They had an entire show about that problem, about the fraud on social media. You can buy likes, you can buy 10,000 likes for your content or 10,000 followers for $20 online, and you have too many websites that serve that for influencers or for users. It's very easy. Based on the data, 3 out of 4 campaigns with influencers will include fraudulent data. And so it's really, really out there. It's hard. The average on Instagram, just Instagram, when it comes to bot users and fake comments and bots that replied on behalf of users is 16%. So 16% of the traffic that you will experience on social media, on Instagram, will be bots. For example, if on your profile, Neil, if you upload the content with the hashtag love, which is a very generic hashtag, or hashtag, dance, all kind of generic hashtags, you're most likely to get 16% of the engagement, 1/6, will be from bots, because they also always look for these hashtags and comments, and they will comment and reply on behalf of someone else to create more traffic. So that's the problem. And how we face this problem is by providing the algorithm, the vetting algorithm that allows the marketers to get a genuine data and live data about each influencer followers. And when I say followers, we look one by one and we segment the followers to understand what's the ratio between the content they upload and their followers amount, for example, and the content they were tagged in and the posts they upload. So all these attributes, and obviously the profile image, how it relates to the content itself of this specific user. And if there are big differences, for example, between the profile image and the images in the posts, and the numbers are weird, for example, if this user following the maximum that is allowed on Instagram, 7,500, then it's a bad sign. And if he has 0 likes or too many likes based on his followers amount, then it's another bad sign. But we conclude all the signs together, and finally we have a result that says this specific user is fake by 98%, or is true, a genuine user by 98%. And that's the output that we give for each and every one of the followers for a given influencer. So that's how we assure that a specific influencer that you can work with won't be a fake, or you won't spend your money. And I must say, there are a lot of ways, for brands to vet influencers, but you always have to make sure, as a brand, as someone that leads the strategy with influencer, that you choose the right technology and you have confidence in that technology, because there are too many also, fraud technologies out there that will sell their pitch and it will cause damage for your brand.
And I'm curious, what's next for Humanz? Where do you go from here? Is there anything you can share about the road ahead, or anything that excites you about where you're heading?
Sure. Humanz now we're launching now the offices in the USA. We have the initial activity. So we're currently based in Israel, South Africa, Turkey, India, UK, Brazil, and now we're also facing the USA, which is the biggest market so far. direct to consumers, brands, and e-commerce. That's the next step from product perspective. We have some nice collaborations that we're going to launch soon with leading e-commerce platforms, and bring value to our advertisers. That's always our mission.
A question I usually end with on this podcast is I ask the guest, having listened to their origin story, is if there is a particular song or piece of music that has helped inspire them or accompanied them throughout their tech startup career. I'm curious, it's going to be a Beatles song, I know, before I even ask the question, but is there a song that springs to mind for you?
Yeah, one of my special songs, and you said inspiring, so I used to hear it since I was a little kid, and until today I enjoy it. It's more of a monologue of McCartney, and obviously it's Blackbird by the Beatles, by McCartney. So that's my favorite. That's my inspiring song.
Excellent choice. I'm struggling to fight the urge to burst into song myself and sing that to you after you said that. But I'll spare everyone listening that. And before I let you go, can you remind everyone listening of where they can find you online, find out more information about Humanz, and even contact your team if they've got any questions?
Sure, yeah. Obviously, I'll be happy to chat on LinkedIn. My profile is always there, Liav Chen, it's pronounced Chen. And obviously the company Humanz, HUMANZ.com. Feel free to drop a message. We have the teams there always for our leads, and we'll be happy to support and answer any kind of question.
Well, there's so much I've loved about our conversation today. I love the origin story, where it all began, what put you on this path, and of course the soundtrack to it all as well, and the difference that you're making now. So thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with me and share that story today.
Thank you very much, Neil. It was a great conversation. Thanks for having me.
Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Sorry, I couldn't help myself there, but what a great story. And the name Humanz comes from a proprietary data technology which audits influencers by actually analysing all of their profile information and content, as well as all their followers with public profiles. And it's then able to use technology to assess true influence by looking for a match between what the influencer claims to be influential and their top performing content, all with real and active audiences' profile and genuine interests. Because, let's be honest, a lack of trust in the attention economy is costly, and there is a way to vet the authenticity of an influencer now, all by leveraging those advanced algorithms that analyse just about every aspect of a social profile, including those of the followers too. So for me, today's episode had it all. From the very beginning of Liav's story there, to serving in Israel Intelligence Unit at 8200, and not to mention, of course, the soundtrack to his life and the proud accolade of having the biggest collection of Beatles vinyls than anyone else in Tel Aviv. But if any aspect of today's story resonated with you, or if you'd like to come on here and share your story, you know the drill. Email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com. My website is techblogwriter.co.uk. LinkedIn, Twitter @Neil C. Hughes. And on that note, I'm going to sit back and listen to some Beatles now. Why not? So thank you for listening. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.